Hi and welcome to Thete Gaming. We're going to have another little look at the Retribution Paladin for Dragonflight. I'm going to try and make this one sort of Dragonflight, even though it's very pre-patch. Pre-patch, there's quite a lot of things to bear in mind. It's a lot fiddlier, particularly in the vital burst phase. So what I'm going to show you, first of all, things to consider and what I've tried to do as I try and adjust my UI for Dragonflight. So we've got several things that are a little bit different with the pre-patch as compared to now. The first, of course, is that we've got Gavel and Scars messing about with things. They're things to consider at the start of a fight and at various points in cooldowns. But also Divine Toll. So in Dragonflight, we'd have it available as a talent, but we get it in Shadowlands content without the need for a talent. So at the moment, for single target bosses, your talents are looking a little similar to this. Dusk and Dawn is one of the things that is a little bit different. Now, some of you may have used Dusk and Dawn in Shadowlands, maybe early on, but it hasn't been a standard feature of it, and it is something to consider. So I'm just going to show you what I've set up so far. This is very rough and ready so far, my Tell Me When. So there's the Hikili stuff there. But around here, and Hikili does seem to be working now. But bear in mind, Hikili will not help you with Dusk and Dawn. Dawn, not so much of a problem. Obviously, it's nice to have, but Dusk, the Dawn blessing is what you want to try and maintain, because that's worth quite a bit of damage. Remember, the actual Dawn itself is 10% increased damage, and with Seal of Order, it's another 10% on your Holy Power spending abilities, which is, of course, what does your damage. So, what I've got up here for Dusk and Dawn is a series. I haven't actually put Hammer of Wrath in. I've neglected to do that. I noticed that when I was testing it out in LFR, which I'll come to in a moment. I need to put that in. But it's sort of a priority of, if my blessing is about to run out, it's got a few seconds left, just to let me know which builders I have available, and I've put conditions on them. So, for example, on the Wake of Ashes, I've set this up with various conditions. I always have conditions of the player being in combat. I don't need to see Tell Me when I'm not. But I've also put it for Blessing of Dawn when it's less than or equal to 3 seconds left. So I don't need to have these things in my face when the buff is still got loads of time on it. So give myself 3 seconds. That way I don't have to instantly react either. I've got time to think about it. And also Holy Power less than or equal to 2. I don't need to know that Wake of Ashes is available if I only need 1 Holy Power to get my blessing back. Similar thing with Blade of Justice. Obviously the condition's slightly different there. This is less than or equal to 3 Holy Power, and then Judgment and Crusader Strike less than or equal to 4. So and then I do the same sort of thing for Hammer of Wrath as well, which I've completely neglected to put in there. And then down here I've got a separate Tell Me When. This is for the starter. This is to get all the cooldowns lined up. So I run into the boss, and yeah, okay, I'll use in the pre-patch. I'll use my Gavel. I'll click on my second stack of Scars as well. But effectively, what I want to do is first of all get Blessing of Dawn going. So I need to get myself to 5 Holy Power. Then I want to hit Crusade. Now I want my Crusade stacks to be up to 10. Then I'll use Final Reckoning on the boss. And once all of those things are lined up, once all of those ducks are in a line, then I'll use Divine Toll. Now, obviously, at this point, if you've ended up with some Holy Power, try and spend your Holy Power and then use Divine Toll. You don't have to use it immediately. But so I'll try and show you the general sort of idea. I'm not going to use my Gavel. I've taken my Scars out in this particular one, so that doesn't mess about. But just as a general thing, so I'm just going to do that. I'm going to ignore my Hikili there just to get the 5 Holy Power, then Crusade, then I'll use the normal rotation. At this point, I've got my stack, so I can put that down, then Divine Toll. And that, should be the best way of using all that. I'll just get out of combat just to show some things here. So for those who haven't necessarily been used to using all those things, and none of these things are new with Dragonflight abilities. These are all abilities we've had. We just haven't had them all at the same time. So it just adds a little bit of complexity in there. I've got to wait till I'm out of combat even to go with my talents. Come on. There we go. It still doesn't want to work. What have I done? Something's happened. Doesn't matter. I'll show you on here. So final reckoning, remember the debuff only lasts for 8 seconds. So there's no point in firing that off at the same time as Crusade. Your Crusade lasts for significantly longer. So get to yourself to your 10 stacks, then use your final reckoning. And then, as I say, use your Divine Toll. Clear some holy power so it's worth using it at that point. And I should be able to show you how I got on with it in an LFR. Just again to show for comparison. So I have Scars equipped. And you can see, I mean, this, I only, I've not been raiding. I've only came back to the game a few months ago. All of my gear has just come from like LFR or through doing LFR. So of course we've still got the legendaries, and I've got some items from the dinars, but again I just did LFR for it, so just under 280 item level because I can't seem to get a decent hat. So that's where I am with it. Now I'll just quickly go to where I tried LFR. So here we are in LFR. I'm just doing an Anduin pull here, and I've got my first stack of scars ready to go. Usual things that would be the case with Shadowlands anyway. So I'm just going to keep stopping this and showing some features out. So as I've gone in, and I need to do lots of practice on this, by the way. Fired off Gavel, I've hit it's in scars there. Wake of Ashes, just start the holy power. Wait for my soul fragment to come up. Take that out. I need one more holy power, and you'll notice I've got just above my Hakili icons. You can see the only icons showing are Crusader Strike and Judgment. Now, Judgment's greyed out because it's not available yet, but there's a timer on telling me when it will become available, but it shows that my Crusader Strike is available with 2 charges, so I can just hit one of those, and they all disappear because now I've got my Blessing of Dawn. So that's on 15 there. As soon as I've got that, then I use Crusade. Now, we can see the icons underneath my Hakili add-on there. So we've got Blessing of the Dawn. There's a point at which I've stopped it here. That's 14 seconds. Crusade, 25 seconds. It's showing it on 1 stack. It's greyed out. Divine Toll has appeared because I'm just using that. I'm just putting that in as a cooldown. And we go along there. I'm just hitting my holy power spending abilities. Now you can see it's on 7. As soon as I hit this next Templar's Verdict, what's going to happen is it's going to become fully opaque, and that is my indicator I'm on 10 stacks, which is there, at which point I can apply Final Reckoning to the boss, and then I've got 8 seconds. Now, so Final Reckoning down there. Now I did actually, I think, make a little bit of a mistake here because I was a bit too eager and I fired off Divine Toll straight away. I should have used the Templar's Verdict first, then Divine Toll. But nonetheless, that's sort of the ducks to get in a line. So let this run for a little bit. It's making sure your Blessing of Dawn is up, then Crusader, get your 10 Crusader strikes, then Final Reckoning. Then you've got 8 seconds to find a suitable time to put Divine Toll in, so there's no problem there. And that's sort of how it goes. Then you've got the usual thing the next time it comes in. And, it's very nice burst. It does very good burst. I mean, you can see that there. Again, I don't want to compare with the other players because I don't know how the other players are geared. This is LFR. But compared with some of the other classes I've been playing on, like my Death Knight, for example, this is far superior to what I can do on my Death Knight, who's similarly geared. Not quite the same, admittedly, but similarly geared. So that's how that's sort of working. Now back to the world of the living. I'm just going to mention one other thing about AoE. Now I wasn't spec'd for any of those bosses for AoE, but one little point on it. So the talents will be slightly different when you're doing AoE here. But just to point out a couple of little things. So here, for single target, we've got Ashes to Dust. So we take Wake of Ashes, of course we do. It's a really nice builder. And Ashes to Dust, which means our Art of War has a chance to reset that instead of Blade of Justice. In AoE, we would use Radiant Decree. Now, it's a little bit jarring. I'm not a big fan of having what is sort of the same ability in one mode being a builder and another mode being a spender, particularly when it's like 3. It's not like a builder that does 1. It generates 3 holy power, or it consumes 3 holy power. But it is worth taking for AoE. And there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, it just straight up does more damage. Bear in mind, Wake of Ashes has a much longer cooldown than Radiant Decree. You can use Radiant Decree on cooldown. It's incredibly good. It's better than Divine Storm. So don't worry about that. But the other thing is, if you're in an AoE situation, so let's say you're doing Mythic plus Dungeons and the trash is the more important thing, so you're more minded towards AoE talents, what you absolutely don't want to take is Ashes to Dust. I mean, you would take Radiant Decree anyway, but if you wouldn't take Radiant Decree, you still wouldn't take Ashes to Dust. And the reason is related to this little ability here, Consecrated Blade. So Art of War causes Blade of Justice to cast Consecration at the target's location. The limit on Consecration doesn't apply to this effect. So you get an extra, it's a Consecration on top of your other Consecrations. So in AoE situations, of course, you want more layers of Consecration, particularly as you will be buffing your Consecration if you are taking AoE talent. At which point this is a bit of a problem, Ashes to Dust, because what it means is sometimes your Art of War procs Wake of Ashes instead, at which point you do not get your Consecration. So that's sort of a little thing to bear in mind there. It shouldn't be something you need to be especially mindful of, because as I say, in AoE, you will be taking Radiant Decree anyway. But just in case some weird thing happened later on, that wasn't the case, which would be a total failure of balancing if that were the case, Ashes to Dust is a problem in AoE. But anyway, there we go. Those are some initial little thoughts in terms of easing yourself into the Dragonflight style of play. So hopefully some practical examples. I'm going to keep refining my UI a little bit, because at the moment it's quite... What you have to be wary of, apart from the fact, as I say, I forgot to put my Hammer of Wrath in there, is there's something like I've got Blessing of Dawn. I've got 2 different icons. I don't need 2 different icons. And arguably this one down here I'm not really paying attention to. That's the sort of thing to bear in mind as well. If you create weak auras or tell me whens for anything to alert you to something, try it out in actual raids and dungeons and ask yourself, are you noticing it? And if you're not noticing it, it'll be down to one of 2 things. Either, as it happens, you don't really need it, in which case you can just get rid of it. You don't have to know everything. Or you do really need it, but you're still not noticing it, in which case you haven't really put it in the right place. You know, this bar down here is really for my cooldowns. I only added it to there because at the time it was the only tell me when group I'd created. So I've now created other ones. I've put Blessing of Dawn there because that's what I'm lining up for my cooldowns. Even though even during the fight I also want to maintain Blessing of Dawn as well. But I don't need it down there, so it can be removed down there. But when I get into Dragonflight, some of these are going to change anyway. I won't have Gavel at some point. I won't have Scars at some point. So those will be just changed for other on-use item abilities I have. So this is likely to change around anyway. But, you know, try things out. Let me know how you're getting on. Let me know any difficulties or little wrinkles, any little schemes you found for getting the best out of your Paladin. Put it in the comments below. Hope you found it useful, and until next time, I will see you later.